All right, we're going to get started because it looks like everybody that's going to come has already come. All right, so the LinkedIn Rainmaker method, what I'm going to show you today is a lot of stuff. We're going to go over how to target on LinkedIn. We're going to go over how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. We're going to go over how to drive traffic to your LinkedIn profile and how to drive that into a funnel and leverage that for traffic and leads and calls and connections. And most of all, money, and how to scale all this and outsource it and make it run really, really smoothly. So diving right in, first things first, you have to know your audience. You have to know the language that they use, key terms that they use in the niche, know the pain that you're solving, and most of all, know the pains that they're experiencing in the niche. Now, if you don't know your audience, you don't know them too well, you're just getting into it, that's perfectly fine. You can look at what other consultants and experts are doing in the niche. You can do this through LinkedIn as well. And basically, you want to find commonalities. So if you're going into marketing consulting, look at other marketing consultants in that niche, figure out commonalities between them based on the content that's in their LinkedIn profile, and identify the pains in the market through that research. The next thing you want to do is translate that target into what LinkedIn lets you use. So LinkedIn lets you search by a number of different things, from industry to title to profile keyword, company size, affiliations through groups, and tons of other things. And basically knowing how to target on LinkedIn is the number one thing you want to be able to do. If you can't target well on LinkedIn using the information that you have, you're going to have a really hard time getting results with this method at all. So here's a great example. This is my example. So I'm targeting SaaS founders and CEOs. So this is what I use to target on LinkedIn. I'll use relationships, so second and third connections of mine. In most cases, I don't touch first connections because I can just message them at any time. Locations, I target Chicago, San Francisco, San Diego, basically all of the key tech cities across the US. I target industries, internet and industry computer software, because this is where most of the SaaS founders will be. I do profile language English just for the sake of covering that base. And I look at two factors to target down on founders and CEOs. So I look at seniority level by owner, partner, CXO, so CEOs, COOs, CMOs, and the title CEO or founder or president. And then I target by company size just to make sure they have enough money to work with me. So this is an example of a translation based on what I know of the market that I'm going after. And some tips to help make it better. You can use group affiliations to target down even further. So if I wanted to get in touch with CEOs of SaaS companies in the B2B space, there's a lot of LinkedIn groups for that. And I can join those groups and then check them off as part of my search to make sure that people that I'm targeting are in that group. Doesn't always work. It's an additional extra that you can try out. You can also try the interested in targeting functionality, but it's not super accurate. People looking for consultants and experts and people to hire and things like that, most people will not update this beyond the initial time that they set up their LinkedIn profile. So that information could be 5, 6, 10 years old in some cases. If you really want to be sure you're targeting executives, you can check out the experience, industry experience search functionality. And you can basically put, someone who has 8 years experience in the industry. That's probably a really good executive, someone who really is in the market, someone who's doing really well in the market if they're in that market for that long. And that would be a really good search if you're after, the CEO of a company. The last thing that'll really help is learn Boolean search. And what that is when I'm searching for CEOs or presidents or managing directors or founders, that is Boolean search. It's using an or operator to look for any of those. Or if I wanted to get CEOs and founders, maybe they have to be both. It could be CEO and founder, and it's going to look for both of those within the LinkedIn profile. You can really just do a Google search and type in, Boolean search how to. You're going to find dozens and dozens of results to help you out there. Now, the next thing you have to do is really narrow down your goal with LinkedIn. So you have to know what you want to achieve with the people you're going to connect with. So it could be a 15-minute call. It could be getting them opted into a newsletter or sales funnel. It could be selling them a product flat out. Maybe you have a $29 product or $7 product and you want to get them into that tripwire. You can do that right from LinkedIn. Or it could really be anything else that you're thinking of. Just be very clear on what it is that you're after and how that should look. So my example is I want to get people into a 15-minute discovery call. From that discovery call, they could go into one of my other offers. But in the case that they don't get to that 15-minute call, they'll fall back into either a newsletter or some other opt-in method that I have where I capture their email address. And as a secondary fallback, if they're really qualified, I'll invite them into my LinkedIn group, which is for CEOs of SaaS companies, or into my live mastermind. If they're based out of Toronto and they're a CEO of a SaaS company, I'll invite them into that live mastermind where we do dinners and stuff like that. So it's all about knowing exactly what you want to offer them. So when you get on those calls, you know exactly where to take them. So next step of LinkedIn is looking like a pro. You have to have a professional looking image going out there to these people. And you can do that with a smartphone. It's just as easy to do with a smartphone as it is with any other camera, or you can get something professionally done. I just use an image that I found on the internet that was taken of me a long time ago. Basically, you don't want to look like this. So this is the bad. Guy holding beers to his face, probably drunk on a beach somewhere. That's not great. Another guy with his shirt off, just like checking his laptop, looks really sketchy. Don't do this. You're going to end up in a world of hurt when it comes to getting in touch with the people you want to. Everybody's going to think you're an absolute joke. Now, a good example is Neil Patel. So this guy's run multiple multi-million-dollar companies. When you look at his profile, it's very, very professional. His look, when you look at any of his websites or properties, is very professional. It's him in a clean look with a suit or a tie or, presenting somewhere. Now, you don't need to do a professional image like he did, but, suit and tie up for a quick image on LinkedIn is going to do you wonders. Unless, maybe you're a lifestyle coach, then, you just want to look kind of clean. Second stage to looking like a pro is writing compelling profile copy. So what I'm going to take you through is my profile. So my profile has 5 key elements to it. So the first element that is very, very key is your intrigue offer. This is what people see when they get that notification, hey, so-and-so has viewed my profile. So it has to act as your ad copy. In my case, it's, do you want to reduce churn, increase conversions, rapidly grow your SaaS business by 200 to 800% in the next 12 months? They're all key elements that SaaS companies have told me are key pain points. So reducing churn, they have issues with churn. Increasing conversions, lots of SaaS companies have issues with converting free to paid or converting people at all. Rapidly growing their revenue stream is pretty much the goal of any SaaS business. And by 200 to 800% really targets me into people who are in the earlier stage and need to achieve high growth. The secondary element is kind of to drive home your positioning. So what I do for SaaS companies is I do growth hacking. So that's exactly what I drive home in the key element there, which is actually your first and last name section. I basically put my first and last name into the first name column. And in the last name column, I put, this is what I do. Here's my positioning. The third section is not quite a section. Really what it is this is where your pulse articles go. So in my case, I want to have content that's related to what I do in the case that they get to my profile and they want to learn more. So I have an article here about targeted messaging, and that's behavioral dynamics within email automation. Really niche, really targeted down. Video marketing is another big thing in the growth realm and in the SaaS realm. So I have a piece of content about that. And the third one there is my growth hacking newsletter. It's my introductory email, just to give them a sample of what they're in for if they do want to sign up for that. The fourth element here is actually my opt-in offers. So I have 2 opt-in offers live. I've actually changed this morning, so I actually only have 1 live now. But in this case, I have my 2 key opt-in offers here. One, which is my growth hacking newsletter. That lets me know that they're interested in growth hacking. And chances are they're a SaaS business if they're interested in growth hacking. They'd either be a founder or a growth marketer or a CMO, someone who I would want to talk to. The second element there is actually an old version of this training that I did quite a while back. It's basically a 40-minute training on how to use LinkedIn specifically for B2B purposes, so consultants and coaches and things like that. And in both cases, they qualify to let me know that I'm talking to someone who could use my services. I noticed a couple people are saying the video is blurry. Don't worry too much about that. The replay will have very clear video. Main thing is everything that I'm talking about and iterating and basically speaking to you about is actually the key content, but you'll get a very high quality HD version of this video at the end. So don't worry too much about that. The last element here is your summary, which is basically your sales letter. This is the way that you entice them into getting in touch or getting through some type of application process or whatever the case is there. What I originally had here in this screenshot is a mini sales letter, just walking them through, do you have this pain, and this pain? Well, I can help you. And here's how to get in touch with me. I have a link to a landing page, my email, my phone number, just so they have any way that they want to get in touch. Third element of looking like a pro, get well connected. You want to always have more than 500 connections showing. It's just for the sake of looking good. And in really, the whole purpose of it is just you get connected with a lot of people who can then become customers. I'm going to give you a freebie at the end of the webinar, which is really, really good for accelerating this process and it'll make you look really, really credible. So stay tuned for that. It's really, really valuable. Building your positioning through awesome content is a great way to look like a professional and really build authority there. So the easiest way to do this is through PLR content, which is private label rights content. Basically what that means is it is content that people write that you can then copy and paste into anywhere you wish. In most cases, this is for email, newsletters, and things like that. I actually use all of these sites to source content because I post a lot of content. All private label content is the one that I use mainly for marketing content. And basically they give me email newsletters so I can send them off to people on my list. They give me content, which is perfect size for LinkedIn. It's, here's some targeted information about video targeting, targeted information about behavioral dynamics, targeted information about how to leverage YouTube and video marketing for yourself, all that type of info that I want to be posting out to people that would be interested in my services on a regular basis. And I think I pay somewhere around like maybe $400 a year to get access to all of these. Highly recommend all private label content. They're $29 a month. And IDPLR, you can get a lifetime license for $90. So they're definitely cheap. They're definitely worth it. Most of these sites will get 100 pieces of content updated every single month. So lots to choose from. The other option that you have is actually writing your own content, which works, but it doesn't always make a lot of sense. The ROI is very low across the board. It's more just building authority in this case. Sourcing images is another big thing for this type of content. For the most part, I use Pixabay for any images that I need for any of these pieces of content. You can do it in Google image search as well. I mean, you're basically posting it on social media, so that it's kind of like a gray area if you just want to pull images off Google image search. I tend to use Pixabay, and if it's really something I want to get out there and I'm really going to be spamming the hell out of my connections with information on a particular topic, I'll pay for an image on 123rf.com because it's super cheap. And I'll basically just get one image and I'll use that over and over and over again for similarly or related content just to drive home that it's all connected. The last element of looking like a pro here is test, and then rinse and repeat. You don't want to do it too often. Maybe do it once every 2 weeks, once every week when you have a lot of data coming through. But basically what you want to do is test your headlines to make sure that people are clicking through. So if you notice you get 30 views to your profile, but you went out there and you tried to get like 100 people, then that your headline's not really working that well. The whole idea is you want to test it and tweak it so that when you do start getting a lot of views coming in, you're getting a lot of very targeted people to view your profile, as opposed to just general people who are just coming to look at your profile. One way that I use to test some of these headlines and things is I use LinkedIn's Pulse platform, which is basically where you publish content. I'll publish an article for 24 hours or 48 hours and just see how it performs in terms of people clicking through out of all the people that are following me for content. And basically I use those views to determine what the winner is. And I use that as my headline, or I use that as part of my body copy, or, whatever I'm trying to do there. Really cheap way, really easy way to test, similar to the way that you'd use Facebook ads or something like that, but you can do this for free with LinkedIn's Pulse. So now we're going to talk about building authority. So the fastest path to building authority is to build a LinkedIn group, plain and simple. What you want to do to get started is research what others are doing in your target market. And basically, if you're targeting restaurant owners, search on LinkedIn for restaurant owners. You're going to find a bunch of different groups. And you basically want to look at those existing groups in order to get the information back that you need to build out what your LinkedIn group's going to look like. One of the key elements there is coming up with a group name that really fits for LinkedIn SEO. So here's a great example here, restaurant owners. When you search restaurant owners, what you get is this little image on the left-hand side with restaurant owners and managers is the first one. Second one, the bar and restaurant owners group. Third one, independent restaurant owners, and so on. And basically what you want to look at is, what's the target keyword that you're after? What are the target keywords that you see from the groups that you're finding here? Where that info should appear based on what you see from your competitors, where the keywords should appear in your name, where it should appear in your description. There's other factors to LinkedIn SEO, like the size and activity of the group. But in a small niche market like this, like restaurant owners, it's not going to have as big of an impact. So, if your keyword is restaurant owners, you probably want to have the group name restaurant owners. Your description should be something like, restaurant owners, where restaurant owners can come together and share ideas and thoughts and information. And that's going to get you ranked up either 1 or 2 based on that. It really is that simple. It's what Google used to be way back when. So you don't need to put too much thought into it, but make sure that you're looking at what your competitors are doing. Basically, what you want to do when you're building a LinkedIn group, build the group, stock it with tons of content. You want to make sure that when someone comes into that group, they're seeing a full page of content right off the bat. Otherwise, they're going to be very discouraged, and chances are they're going to leave because they can only have 50 groups attached to their profile. So here's my example. This is the group that I kickstarted actually just about a couple of days ago. Very focused towards SaaS companies and founders and CEOs. In terms of SEO for SaaS or software as a service, I show up on the first page, even though my group is super tiny. All the information in the About group is basically rejigged from a competitor. And all I did was I just went in and I posted up about 5 or 6 articles on the first day when I created it. And then I started promoting it and pushing it out there. And now there's actually some organic people like going in there and asking questions and stuff. So it's working out pretty well. That was at about the 30 member point when that started happening. So it really doesn't take a lot just to get it up and running. But if you really want to, take it under your wing and make this your baby, it's worth outsourcing this on Fiverr or something and just saying, hey, get me a list of 50 articles and 50 conversation topics related to this market. And you just drip feed that into your group, once a day, once every other day, just to get discussions going. And basically the main element here of having your own group, the reason why you do this versus going into someone else's group, is you then get to control emails that go out to the people who are members in your group. So there's a group autoresponder that can go out when someone joins your group and you then approve them and accept them into the group. Key thing there is basically just to make it very simple. And it's just, hey, thanks for joining. Here's like an offer for you. Here's a free newsletter. Here's like a free guide or a free book or something to give them, basically to take them outside of LinkedIn into one of your other landing pages or into an offline funnel that you have somewhere else. Basically what this looks like, if you really just want to grow your group really quickly, you basically just go to the send invitation section of your group. And what you want to do, there's 2 things you can do here. So one is leverage existing contacts on LinkedIn, where you can basically just invite them through the connections panel over here, or leverage email lists that you have. So if you've bought an email list very specifically of people in your market, you can just basically paste them in here and click send invitations and let LinkedIn do its thing to convert them into group members. It's definitely a spammier way to go. In my case, I use the connections and I just invited everybody who is a CEO or founder. They only get one message that way. It's all on LinkedIn, very simple, very easy, and it converts really, really well. If you just want to do it fast and you have a massive list, you can go ahead with the email method and you'll convert quite a few even still. So now it's all about driving traffic. So the easiest way to do this, driving traffic to your LinkedIn profile, is through an auto viewer. And what that is an auto viewer is a piece of software that goes out there and views people based on a very specific search. And based on that search and based on the people that you view, they'll get a notification that says, hey, Jamil viewed your profile. It'll show your image, it'll show your name, and it'll show your headline. And they then get to choose, hey, should I check them out and see what this person's all about or not? That's basically how it works. It's very simple. And there's two softwares here that I use, elink.club or Autopilot for LinkedIn. Both are about the same price. Elink's about $50 a month. Autopilot's about $50 a month. There's about a dozen different softwares like this. And in the last slide, I have a resources section and it has the full list of them. These two are paid. There's about 2 or 3 free options. And basically all these do is, you identify your search and you say, I want to look at CEOs of companies in the fitness space. And you just let these guys go out there and view them and just hit them one by one by one. You can do about 800 of these every single day, which means, it's essentially like you going out there and prospecting 800 people. Out of 800, you get somewhere between 3 and 4, maybe even up to 8% back to your profile, where you can then look at converting them into some type of offer or convert them into whatever you need. You will need a LinkedIn premium account to do this. Just get whatever's cheapest. You get a 30-day trial to begin with as well. And I think it's like business premium, I think is what it's called, or business basic. I pay something about $70 a month. And basically you just want to use that, and that's going to allow you to look at tons and tons of profiles, as opposed to LinkedIn's free version, which only lets you view 100, which is really going to dampen the efforts that you're going out with. Basically what all of this is going to accumulate to do is drive lots of inbound traffic to your profile, where you can then leverage them for connections or leverage them for opt-ins or whatever your end goal is there. So another method of driving traffic is using LinkedIn updates and LinkedIn's Pulse network in order to drive first connections into your profile. So basically, if you have a LinkedIn update out there, it actually does get seen quite often, doesn't get interacted with often. But if you have a good network size, you put a LinkedIn update out there, you will drive some decent traffic to it. It gets seen a lot more so than something like Facebook's newsfeed. Simply because the more relevant it is, the better it's going to be accepted. And the more dialed in you can make it in terms of the content to the person that you're after and the connections that you have, the better the interaction is going to be. It's really not hard to get 50 or 60 likes on a newsfeed update, which then gets seen by a very big majority of your network and by a majority of their networks, the people who have liked that post. It's just about dialing in that content. Easiest way to do this, just go on Buffer, Hootsuite, or some type of social media scheduling tool. Post up, once a day, once a week. Not super often, but often enough that you're going to be getting a good share of views. The reason why I say not too often is because if you're posting 4 or 5 times a day, the ability for you to get in front of your connections is going to be dampened, because there's just a lot of content coming out and only so much of it can get shown to your contacts at one time. Pulse content, the benefit of Pulse content is it will notify every single person that you're connected to when you hit publish. Pulse content is what I showed you in my profile, the 3 articles there. And basically what I do is I'll post once every couple of days and just update people and say, hey, here's some really good content that's just for you. it'll send them a notification saying, hey, Gmail posted this article called this. And again, it's really just dialing that into content that makes sense to your audience, to your connections, to the people that you're really after, will drive interaction, which then drives more views outside of your network. So if you're getting 50, 100 shares on an article and it's getting seen by a couple thousand people, a very small segment of that is going to be your network. A very big segment of that is going to be outside people in these other people's networks that are seeing your content. And again, the goal here, post 2 to 3 times a week, on the very high end, 3 times a week. People will click less if they keep seeing your name over and over and over. There's a lot of people I'm connected to that I never click on their content because I just see it every single day. But posting 2 to 3 times a week is infrequent enough that someone who's well connected will only see maybe 1 or 2 of those notifications, and they won't be so bothered by it. Third element of driving traffic, if you just really want to get started very quickly, you can use an invite directory. And what that is basically an invite directory is a website where they will list your email, and people who are LinkedIn open networkers, so just people who want to connect with everybody, will connect with you through that method. It's a really easy way to really scale the number of connections you have very quickly. So it's good for building the audience that you need to go and view second and third connections, but it's not very targeted at all. Chances are a lot of the people that you're going to be connecting with are relatively new to LinkedIn, or they're just people who are in very, very random jobs and just want to build out their network. 2 websites to make this happen and do it really easily, Top Linked and Invites Welcome, are the top 2 that you can go to. You can either look at downloading the existing list that they have, and they'll give you a list of about 100 or 200, and you can upload that into your LinkedIn add contact section and basically send invitations to those 100 or 200 people. Or you can, and that's exactly how to do it. You just go to the import section and upload the file. Or you can just buy access. So if you really don't want to waste the time, you just want people coming to you, you just pay $70 a year between the 2 of them, and it drives somewhere around 300 new connections a month. So if you only have 100 connections right now and you just really need to get to 500, the goodie I'm going to give you at the end will definitely help with this. But you can also just go to one of these sites and just sign up, and you'll have a really big influx of people coming in and inviting you to their network. Fourth element of driving traffic, using macros to automate. And what a macro is basically a script. So it's just, I want to do this thing over and over and over and over and over. It's just going to allow you to automate that process. There's 2 key elements that you want to be automating here. One is people you may know. That's that section on LinkedIn. So if you go under your LinkedIn settings and you click, add contacts, you're going to get sent to this people you may know section. And the other element that you want to automate is liking LinkedIn newsfeed posts. So that's going to get you in front of a lot of people really quickly. And basically, these are the 2 elements that you want to be looking at. So people you may know should look like this, just a bunch of people and connect button underneath them. And obviously your LinkedIn newsfeed, which is the first thing that you see. You just want to automate liking those posts. Easiest way to do this is imacros.net. It's a plugin for Chrome and Firefox. It's going to allow you to record certain actions. And based on those actions, you can replay them over and over and over as many times as you wish. And basically what you want to do with that is you go to either one of those pages, you click connect 4 or 5 times, and then save it, and you just replay that. Or on your news feed, you click like, and you go down 4 or 5 posts, and you save that, and then again, just replay that. Here's what the script looks like, and I'll post a link in the resources section afterwards with this script that you can just copy and paste in. It's basically just, go to this particular page, which is the people you may know section, click connect, wait half a second, click connect again, wait another half a second, click connect again. You just run that over and over. And similarly, the newsfeed one is exactly the same. Go to LinkedIn and click like, wait a second, click like again, wait a second, click like again. And typically, I do this about 15 times a day on each side. So I connect with 15 people and I like 15 posts a day. And what that drives home is it drives about 50 new connections and 50 first connection profile views. So people who were connected with me that otherwise wouldn't have viewed my profile have now come back to see, why is this person liking my picture or liking my picture or post, and what are they doing? Another element of driving traffic here is joining groups and contributing. So it's not going to drive you a lot of authority, but it's going to drive you a lot of views. So joining a group that is large, has interaction, has activity going, is really good to drive home views and traffic to your profile. And basically what you want to do is go in there and comment on posts and engage in discussions that are going on, like posts, and post content if you can. If it makes sense and you have content that's related and it's going to be valuable to those people, post it in there. You'll build a bit of notoriety in those groups, and what that'll let you do is it'll let you leverage that notoriety to connect with people that are very targeted in those groups that you'd want to talk to. Or there's going to be people that will seek you out to try and connect with you because they see your name all the time inside that group and they want to get in touch with you and maybe ask you questions or something like that. Now, with all those strategies in play, you're going to be driving a few hundred views a week into your profile. And basically what that means is that's a few hundred people that you can somehow leverage into one offer or another into your funnel. So here's basically how to pull all this together. So you're already getting views to your profile. Anyone who's viewed your profile and isn't a connection, and this is basically when you go to the who's viewed my profile section, you'll see, are they first connection, second connection, third connection? If you want to be their connection, so you want to get in touch with that person, you want to be able to leverage them into your funnel, you just click connect, send them a personalized connection request, and I'll give you my template in a second. And basically you just want to get in touch with them, let them add you to their network so that you can send them as many personal messages as you want afterwards. And by turning them into that connection, you get to send them as many in-mails as you want. So that's the first connection LinkedIn messaging system. They'll get notified of all your LinkedIn Pulse posts. So every time you post in there, they're going to get a notification saying you've posted a message. They'll see all of your newsfeed updates whenever you do make those, and you can export them from your LinkedIn settings in order to get the personal email or whatever email they use to sign up for LinkedIn. Very often it's a personal email address. If you don't get a response when you take this first step and you try and connect with them, you don't get a response, they don't get added to your first connection, to one of your first connections, just try again. Do it, once every 5 days, once every 7 days, a couple of times over the course of a month. And by that point, it's either, you let them go and just don't try and connect with them again, or they're going to convert into a connection. But it's not, not super intrusive. It's not like they get that over and over and over. A lot of these guys get hundreds of connections every week if you're targeting executives. So it's not going to be a big barrier for them. Now, here's the connection message that I use personally. This is literally what I use right now, and it converts at about 30 to 40%. And basically it's, hi, first name. I noticed that you dropped by my profile recently. It was probably just a casual visit, but I thought I would just check to see if there's anything that I can help you with. Let me know if you'd like to have a chat. Meanwhile, why don't we link up and keep in touch? Jamil. That's it. Very simple, to the point. This is enough to get them interested, or in the sense where they just want to connect to grow their network, because I'm connected to a lot of people and it helps them in building their network. Second stage that you can use to convert them, now that you've had them become a connection, you can send them a message, introduce yourself, and make a value offer. So it could be, let's grab a call, opt into this newsletter, opt into this, or flat out if you want to sell them something, whatever your goal is, this is what you want to introduce here. And based on your end goals, in my example, it's I want to get a call. I want to spend 15 minutes on the phone with them. So I'll ask for that call. I'll basically say, and I'll give you my message template in a second, but it's basically, here's an introduction. Thanks for connecting. I have this value offer for you. If you want it, click here to book it. That's pretty much all it is. I also tend to make an opt-in offer as like a PS, depending on who they are. So if they are a CEO of a SaaS company, I'll invite them to my LinkedIn group. If they're in Toronto, I'll invite them to my mastermind. If they're just a general person, I'll just say, PS, I have this growth hacking newsletter. I'd love to have you on it just to build that list. And, if you don't currently use a calendar booking software right now is definitely the time to start using one. It's going to make your life a lot easier. I tried before not using one and just saying, give me 4 times that work for you and we'll try to schedule something. It's a nightmare. And I find that most people will use the calendar booking software, especially when I say, PS, I use Calendly as my calendar booking software because it's going to save us 20 minutes going back and forth trying to find a time to talk. So, just click the link above and book a time. Here's the message that I currently use. It's basically, hi, first name again. Thanks for connecting here on LinkedIn. I'd love to learn more about what you do in case there's anyone in my network that I can connect you with. Have time for a quick 15-minute call. I talk to quite a few business owners every single week, and I'd love to connect with people. I'd love to connect with you and connect you with people if there is a good fit for an introduction. Grab any time that suits you best here, my Calendly link. Have a great day, my signature, and then PS, I want to send you a proven growth hack every single week for 55 weeks. You can subscribe here, and there's just the link for them to subscribe. It's very basic, very to the point. The reason why I ask for that 15-minute call is I'll get them on the call. I'll spend 10, 15 minutes talking to them about what they do, learning more. And then they ask me the deadly question, which is, so what do you do? And at that point, I can pull them into my sales process. I can basically tear down and say, okay, so, you're a real estate broker who owns a company with 50 employees. Well, it's funny enough, I help real estate brokers triple their business by, achieving X. And I basically bring them into that type of sales funnel. On an ongoing basis, there's a couple other things that you can do. Definitely the gold is in the follow-up. I typically only send 1 follow-up because I just am really horrible at keeping track. But the more you can keep track, the better. Basically, what you want to do is, follow-up 1 is a top of an inbox reminder, just 3 days after the first message. You don't want to do it too soon. And you basically just say, hey, this probably fell through the cracks. Just wanted to circle back and see if you want to grab a call or, whatever your value offer is. Second follow-up is basically a restatement altogether. So instead of, let's grab 15 minutes to see if there's a fit or someone I can connect you with, it's maybe, let's grab 15 minutes. Let's do a brainstorming call. I'm sure there's some ideas that I can think of that'll really help you, grab 10 to 20% more revenue in the next couple of months. Something very basic, and you want to send that about a week after your first follow-up. If you can do this, instead of converting, about 1 in 4 that I send a message to, I'll convert into a call. You might convert upwards of 75%. Instead of the 25% that I get. And it's only because I just can't for the life of me keep track of my follow-ups, but the gold is definitely in the follow-up. And if you have a group, definitely try to integrate that into your offer as many times as you can. Every time that I do, it's very targeted. I convert 50% of people that I invite into my group into a group member, where I then get access to, push them tons of content through the group itself, but also send them messages through LinkedIn, even if they aren't a connection, because the group can handle that and let you send out emails as many times as you want. So the end result of these are basically my stats from everything that I do. So I'll get 40 to 60 profile views a day. I'll get 15 or so connections per day out of those profile views. Those are people that I actually want to get in touch with. And out of those 15 people that I send a message to, I'll book about 2 to 3 calls. There's some people who will go back and forth and eventually book a call, or there's people where I'll just cancel the call because it's not a good fit. But I get about 2 to 3 solid quality 15-minute discovery calls booked every day. And out of all the people who view my profile and all the people that I send a PS message to and everything else, I'll convert somewhere between 2 and 5 email leads per day into my opt-in offers, whether it's like the growth hacking newsletter, or it's to get a video training, or to get whatever information that I have to offer them. So it allows you to build your list really quickly. So basically how to outsource it. Easiest thing that you can do, basically you just go to someone in the Philippines. It's going to cost you $150 to $200 a month. It's not a full-time thing. It's 20, 30 minutes a day. It's very easy to outsource. easiest place to go is onlinejobs.ph. You can get someone here, go one-to-one and get someone really, really cheap and basically just hire them part-time, 20 hours a week for $20 or $200 a month. Or you can go to Upwork or Elance and just do it as a gig, for the next 3 months, manage my LinkedIn profile, however you want to do it. Very key thing here is if you want to go hands off entirely, hire someone that's fluent in English and they'll be able to handle your follow-ups and replies and everything. Also make sure they know a little bit about tech, because there are some, there's scripts and things that you're running, there's softwares that you're running. They have to be able to know how to run all of that. And a very, very key thing is make sure they use a VPN, which is a virtual private network, so that you don't get your account locked down all the time. You basically want them to appear as though they're logging in from the same city as you, or from somewhere in the States at least, or somewhere, in the country where you are at least, because that's going to make your life a lot easier. So you don't have to be always sending them SMS pins and things like that LinkedIn does to check and, run security checks. Scaling it within a company, it's also, pretty much just as easy. What you want to do is take your target market that you have, break it down by geography and segment that up and give that to all the different people that are going to be running automations. You want to make sure that each person's profile is a little bit different. So it either hits a different demographic within your target, or it's a different pain point that you're targeting in on, or whatever the case there. You want it to look different, so it's not like, okay, there's like 50 people from this company viewing my profile every day. And you basically want to cycle that. So, if you're hitting San Francisco, New York, and Miami with 3 different people, switch that up. So next week it's all 3 different people that are hitting those cities. And again, do that again every single week. You have the option of setting up multiple profiles if you want to try and do this. It's really, really risky. And I know it's super tempting because it's really, really easy. But I definitely don't recommend it. I did this in the past, and it basically resulted in like 4 accounts getting shut down. So don't do that. Even if you're within a company and you really want to capitalize on it, don't do it. It's definitely not worth it. So taking this further, if you really want to pull that into a whole nother level where you're hitting people on multiple channels, what you can do is you can scrape emails to build targeted lists so people who are second connections, third connections, you're already going to be viewing them. You're going to be sending connection requests. But what you can do is take that a step further and use something like LeadIQ or LeadFuse or MessageSumo to go out there and scrape their email address and either use it to send them an email or use it on Facebook custom audience or Google customer match to show them ads and basically warm them up to the idea of getting in contact with you or getting in touch with you. It's going to make it a lot easier if you're hitting them on multiple channels to convert them into a conversation or convert them into a lead. The very, very key to it all, make sure your profile copy is very, very dialed in. I personally pretty much stumbled my way through a lot of this. I've dialed it in now, but for the most part, when I was getting started, I just stumbled my way through it all. But the one thing that was very consistent was I knew my market and I could really dial in the copy that I was using. And if you can dial in your copy and you can dial in what's in your profile, you can absolutely crush it, even if you half-ass the rest of it. So some goodies for you. First things first, one of the most amazing sales resources that I know of and that I personally go to every single day now is Frank's Selling on Purpose Facebook group. And I will post the link in the chat there. By far one of the best resources that I know for sales and converting people and everything else. The other element here, so I have a landing page that I set up for everybody. Basically, it's just all the resources that I mentioned in one place, the rainmakermethod.co, .co, not .com. And if you go there, you're going to get all the information you need. The links for both of these will also be inside the replay email that's going to go out in about 4 or 5 hours. And that's all the info you need, all the different auto viewers that you need, all the different scrapers that you need. Basically all the information that you'll need to go out there and absolutely kill it with this method. And there's also what else is there? Yeah, so there's also a set a zip file that's in there. It's called Connection Accelerator, I believe, on that site. And what that is it's a zip file full of 8,000 LinkedIn open networkers. And what you can do is you can upload this into your add a contact section on LinkedIn. And what that's going to do is that is going to allow you to get up to that 500 connection point really, really quickly. For the most part, you can only upload one of those every other day or something like that, but it's going to get you from 0 to 500 or from 1,000 to 8,000 really, really quickly, which means that you're going to be able to grow your second and third network really, really rapidly. Yeah, so I mean, that's all the information for you. Know that almost everybody's probably on overload, but if you have any questions, pop them into the chat and I'll answer them now. Let's see here. Yeah, so the blurriness, again, you'll get the replay, which is full HD quality. Don't worry about it too much. Webinar Jam and Google Hangouts tends to be a little bit like this, kind of annoying. But if anybody has any questions, pop them into the chat. Absolutely happy to answer any questions that you have there. I think there's one here that I missed. John, so what if you have a 9 to 5? Yeah, definitely. So I've encountered this a couple times, and a few of the people that are in my masterminds and things have this issue as well. In reality, chances are the owner of the company that you're working with is probably not checking you out on LinkedIn. So all you want to do is go into your settings on LinkedIn and basically go to privacy and turn off update notifications. So that way, any changes you make on your profile don't get pushed into the newsfeed, so he won't see them. And then just revamp your entire profile. It's not like you're violating anything at work having a social media network that's personally tailored to yourself. If you look at if you look at Facebook, look at Twitter, that's all stuff that's your own. It's not supposed to be controlled by the person that's employing you. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But John, if you shoot me your email, I'm happy to grab 15 minutes and just walk you through how to do it. So you're not sending out information to your employer. Just reply in the chat with your email address, because it's all private message. And I'll send you an email afterwards and let you know how to do that. Benjamin, did you mention how many times you run the same searches? I didn't, but what I do is within a 7-day period, I don't run the same search. So if I'm looking at people in Chicago who are CEOs and who have 11 to 50 person companies, that's going to be about 900 to 1,000 people. I only get to auto view 800 out of that. So I'll run that search, on a Monday, and then I'll go back and do that again next Monday. But I won't do it, next day, day after day after day, because it's not going to have any effect. I wait for it to kind of get filtered out and get a bunch of other people to come in and view these people, and then I'll go back and do it. Chet, can you talk about the Rainmaker method? Basically, that's just a placeholder. I actually didn't set anything up for that. I just chose a random date in there. There is going to be a program that I will do, which is going to be this in extreme detail, literally walking you through how to do exactly all of this. And if you're interested in that and you want to take a look at how that works, by all means, please enter your email in there, and I'd be more than happy to keep you all updated on what's going to happen with that. But in reality, I kind of just put it there as a placeholder in the case that anybody does want to get updates on how things are going, want to get updates on new resources and things that I find. Brian, I heard Autopilot for LinkedIn has some technical issues lately. It did. From what I know, it got updated. I actually use it every single day now, so it has been updated since about a month and a half ago when it was having issues. But they did also up their price. So I would push you towards elink.club. But if you go to the rainmakermethod.co, there are some links of about 4 other auto viewers on there. If you want to just try something out that's free just to see how it works, you can go over there and just grab one of those. Benjamin, how many times would you view the same person in your market? It would be, it'd be once a week. they're probably going to see me every single week, once a week for the matter of like a year or so until they finally connect with me. And at that point, then they'd stop seeing me because I only target second and third connections. All right. Any other questions out there about the method, about any of the things that we went over? Anything else going on out there? Questions you have about tailoring your profile, anything like that? Brian, does recommending people help? I'm not sure, actually. I don't think it does. It depends on who your target is. So if your target is like entrepreneurs and business coaches or something like that, where they want credibility, it could. In my case, or in a lot of people's cases, when they're targeting like CEOs of companies that are doing a couple $1,000,000 a year, they're not really going to care so much about getting a recommendation. It doesn't matter too much when they run their own company. But if they're, if they sell based on a service, they're a consultant or something, it could be a great way to get in touch with them and kind of keep that connection going. Benjamin, E-Link discourages sending connection requests to third-degree connections. Yes, they do. But what I do is, if someone views me, and if I view someone, they choose to view me back, all I'm doing is asking them, hey, I saw that you viewed my profile. Did you want to connect? It's not like I'm hard on selling them all at once. If I was, then yeah, I'd have problems with that. At the moment, though, I send out probably about 40 connection requests a day. And, I don't convert all of them. I convert a little less than half of them. But, it works for me. It definitely works. Mauricio, can you send the script for iMacros? Yes, that will be in the rainmakermethod.co right after the webinar. I forgot to do it. And I will get that posted in there as a link. It'll be 2 text files. Brian, how many connections are you up to? I believe I have just under 8,500 now. I've been growing by about 2,000 connections or so a month right now. And I pretty much connect with everybody at this point. The reason being that I want to connect with everybody so I can grow my second and third connection network. So that way, if I ever want to do a search or ever want to do a scrape of emails, there's enough people out there for me to scrape back information. And John, there is a limit on connections. It's 30,000, I believe. I'm sure by the point I get to about 15, 16,000, I'm going to be a lot more selective. But right now, what I want to do is get my overall 1, 2, and 3 connection network beyond about 50 or 60 million people, which means that when I go out there and do a search, or I go out there and try and scrape emails, I'm getting a very good sampling of the 400 million that LinkedIn has to offer. Chet, so you recommend elink.club over the others, and do you need a pro LinkedIn account? You will need a pro LinkedIn account if you're going to do the auto viewing. If you're going to do any of the other stuff, you don't need it. I recommend having it because that is the fastest path to generating leads and connections and cash. And E-Link is probably one of the cheapest options. There's a couple other there. If you're using Windows, there's a lot of cheaper options. There's a couple that are listed there. Profile Hopper apparently is really, really good, and it's free and it's for Chrome. So if you just wanted to get started and try something out, I'd do that, hands down. In my case, I like the features that elink.club gives me, so I pay the $47 a month or $50 a month or whatever it is. Phil, how do you keep track of messages and following up with them? This is why my follow-up is absolutely awful. I, for the most part, don't. I just started about a week ago. I now have an Excel list, and I actually keep track of every single person that comes in. And when I say now I have someone in the Philippines who does it, and I make their life a living hell. But basically, they'll keep track of every single person that I send connection requests to, every single person that I send messages out to, and they're now helping me keep track of who I'm following up with and who I need to follow up with. in the near future, that's probably all going to be automated, but you're basically, no matter what, making someone's life hell. There's a couple of softwares that came out recently that are trying to make it more automated. I've used almost all of them now because I like to do a lot of testing. I haven't found one that works well to do cover all of the bases. But what I can do, again, I'll update the LinkedIn Rainmaker method.co with the more of those other ones that are kind of in beta state, and I'll put it right beside it. This is kind of in beta, it's being tested, or I've tested this but haven't had great success. You can check it out if you want, and that way you can kind of take a look there. Rohan, Jamil, I have one question about LinkedIn. I currently have about 1,600 connections, and now when I try to send a connection, LinkedIn says that I can send 1,000 more connection requests. Yes, so LinkedIn does have some temporary limitations. That's probably the easiest way of saying it. Basically what it is LinkedIn wants to make sure you're not automating a lot. And basically what that is they'll let you send out, a couple hundred or a couple thousand connections, at which point you hit a limit. And all that limit is you just have to send them a message and say, hey, can you reset my connection limit? And they'll go through and reset all the messages that you've sent out. Then you go back out there and, you do it again. You're probably going to hit that about once every quarter if you're doing this full method, full on. I hit it about once every quarter, and it's basically somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 connections you can send. And then they basically have to go through and reset all the outstanding connections that haven't been approved. It's not really an issue. You basically just send them a message, and within 24 to 72 hours, they've reset that connection limit for you. But yeah, you will have to get in touch with them through their support and just say, hey, I saw this connection limit. They'll only let you reset it when you've hit it, but it's good to get in touch with them just to get that sorted out. John, so is there a need to automate or create a CRM from LinkedIn? It would be really good if someone did make a CRM. There's about 4 people right now that I know of that are trying, and it works. It's not great. At the price, I'd probably pay for it because I think most of these guys are doing it out at like 20 to $40 a month. I'd probably pay for it if they took all of the other features out of like elink.club and put it in there. But I wouldn't expect that something that does handle all of this in terms of connections and follow-ups and things, I wouldn't expect it to cost less than $100 to $200 a month. And even in that case, it's well worth it. You're basically saving a lot of human error that can happen. Anybody else have any questions? Coming up on the 5 o'clock mark. Yeah, I mean, if no one else has any questions, then basically in about 30 seconds or so, we'll kind of end it. If you go to the rainmakermethod.co, all your resources will be there. A link will be pushed out in the replay, and I'll make sure that I update that with the macros and with some of those other profile hoppers that are out there. Chat for auto viewing of profiles, how many max should one do to stay within the limits? 800 a day. Don't do any more than that. If you do any more than that, you will get temporarily banned. Basically, all that is they suspend your desktop profile. You can still log in by the mobile app and do whatever you need to do, but they will limit your profile for 24 to 72 hours, depending on how many times it happens. I still do get limited about maybe once a month. It's like I'll view 800 profiles, and then I'll go out there and do some searching for like groups, and I'll do research and stuff, and then I get limited. You just have to be really careful of that. Like if you're going to do a lot of research, you're building a group and stuff like that, view less. 800 is kind of the limit per day that you should be hitting. All right. Yeah. So again, LinkedIn, the rainmakermethod.co, and Selling on Purpose, the Facebook group, 2 awesome places. You'll probably see my name a couple of times on the Selling on Purpose group. So if you have any questions after this webinar is done, shoot me a private message on Facebook. I don't answer quickly. I'll say that up front, but I will get around to your question whenever I do have a chance. I appreciate everybody coming out to the webinar. It was absolutely awesome to see everybody here. And definitely, send me a message if you have questions after the webinar. But otherwise, have an awesome, awesome week.